call the meeting back to order. Before we move on to the next item of business, I believe it's experimental format. I just wanted to get back to Daryl's question when we were reviewing the treasurer's report on the long-term investments. Daryl, year to date, from April 28th till February 2nd, our long-term investments are up 5.86%, roughly $117,426. Since October 27th, which was our all-time low reported number for long-term investments, which is roughly 14 weeks ago, we were up 191,186 for roughly 9.9% increase since October 27th.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Rachel, if you need them for the minutes, I can email them to you later today.
Sure, always good to have information.
Okay. All right, we are going to move on to experimental formats. Rachel?
Thank you. I'm going to go right down to the current happenings, which contains a motion, several motions, sorry. Motion number 1 regarding the Cat Club of the Palm Beaches will be withdrawn because this will come into next show season when we have show rules approving this format. Just a reminder that it qualifies for the requested 2 OCP rings because it's more than 6 ring show. So good luck, Kenny. I'm giving you a pause to plug your show because I know you will. Okay, number 2 is the Ambassador Cat Club and Central Breed Cat Club. They're having 9 rings and basically want to have 2 OCP rings this show season, April 27th and 28th in Bangkok. Because it's this show season, it does require us to approve it. So I make the motion as it appears on your screen.
Kathy
Kathy
seconds.
Calhoun, do you second?
Kathy, we second, yep.
Okay. Open for discussion. Kathy Calhoun?
The ID committee is in full support.
Okay. Any other discussion or comments? Any objections? Seeing no objection, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. The next motion is a request for a breed summit. It's been a little while since we visited the breed summit format. So I included the procedure that we adopted a few years ago. This differs a little bit from the procedure in that their scoring is going to be come into play after more cats are entered than what is in the proposal, which I think is great, just increases competition. And you see their plan here. They're going to just do a best Maine Coon overall. This is all not scored. Which appears in the motion that you should see there on the screen to allow the Great Lakes, Great Maines to hold their Maine Coon Breed Summit as outlined above.
Okay, may I have a second, please?
Russell seconds.
Thank you, Russell. Discussion? Objections? Seeing no objection, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. I have one more motion that just came in, which is not pre-noticed. The Hong Kong and Macau Cat Club is organizing a 4-ring all-breed show in Hong Kong on April 27th and 28th, 2024. Because of the size of the show hall, they will split the show to 2 rings each day. They would like approval from the board to hold one OCP ring at the show, judged by Edward Maeda. He's one of the regular judges in the show. It'll be the first time in Hong Kong for the OCP format. Also, they would like to attract more new exhibitors to join CFA shows because competing organizations are having more and more shows in Hong Kong, trying to eat up the market in Hong Kong. It will help the club financially. They're expecting quite a substantial loss for this show, so they want to mitigate their losses. I'll read the motion since you do not have it. To allow the Hong Kong and Macau Cat Club to have one OCP ring at their April 27, 28, 2024 show in Hong Kong in the International Division. The ring will use a judge on the regular slate. Scoring would be for grand points only for the Opens champions and Opens premiers portion of the final with no points awarded in breed. If the minimum entries are not achieved, that portion of the final will not be held. That's our standard language. So
Okay.
Kathy
move.
seconds.
Okay, I got motion made by Rachel, second by Kathy Calhoun. Just a reminder, because it's our first time to make this reminder. This is not a pre-notice motion and will require 2/3.
Right.
Okay, discussion? No discussion, any objections? Seeing no objection, motion passes unanimously.
I want to thank the ID committee again for a speedy response. We kind of wrapped this up while we were at lunch. So we have done a good deed for one of our clubs in Hong Kong. And that is the end of my report unless anyone has questions.
Anybody have any questions for Rachel? Rachel, no questions.
Great. Thank
Thank you.
you, everybody.
Okay, we're gonna move on to next agenda item, virtual cat competition. Is Nancy available?
Let's see, she was in the audience. Let me bring her in. Sorry, I should have had her in here. Okay, she should be here in a second.
Okay,
Can everyone hear me?
hi Nancy.
Hi. Okay, the committee has been inactive for most of 2023 due to committee members' commitments in other areas of CFA. We did plan on doing an event, but due to not being able to fully staff it, due to needing more members, and it is quite a time, it does take up a lot of time once you commit to it. It was finally decided that we no longer going to have the shows on the platform, and the contract with Launchpad has not been renewed. But however, all the photos from the previous competitions have been downloaded and saved. We are currently looking at alternatives to Launchpad that would be less complex and more cost effective. More importantly, where past VCCs have been based on a CFA multi-ring and top 10 format, we intend to look into the possibility of basing future shows a bit more on the traditional show approach used by European associations. We think this might enable the VCCs to provide exhibitors with a modest level of specific feedback on their catch, which they are telling us via Facebook that they would love to have and greatly value. We plan to develop a feedback form for the judges' use, which Iris will work on, and provide a proposal for an experimental event that would utilize it, provide exhibitors with feedback, and create a one set of video finals per class based on a nomination system. So there's no immediate board action until the proposal is completed, unless the board is not interested in having us pursue this.
Okay, does any board members have any questions? Any recommendations? Cam Delabar?
I'm sorry, my video is not coming up. Nancy, I think this is, it would be a fun idea. And as long as people know with the traditional approach, judges can't handle the cats, can't say anything about coat quality or weight or anything like that, boning, but I think it would be fun. And so a new format to interest the fancy in. So good luck.
Thanks. And I know that Iris is looking for copies of the evaluation forms from the different associations who use them.
I have them.
If you could forward those to her, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Will do.
Nancy, if you do decide to continue with this format, when do you anticipate you might be able to do one?
Well, we're hoping to have the proposal in place for the next board meeting, which is April.
Okay, very good. All right, does anybody else have any questions? Nancy, thank you very much for attending.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's do Region 5 report. Mike Shelton.
Yeah, this is just a brief report to inform the board on how we're going to be dispersing the $5,000 in funds from Maui that were approved back in September, I think August or September. So there's no action items here. This is just a description of where the money's going and the work that's being done by Surf Cat Ranch and that this funding will help promote. So unless anybody has any questions, that's all I have.
Does anybody have any questions for Mike?
No.
Hey, Mike, thank you to the Maui Surf Cat Ranch for all that they're doing, and we wish them the best there. You have anything additional, Mike?
Nope, just to again thank the board for approving the funding to help out.
Yeah, thank you to the board. Okay, Mike, great job. Thank you. Moving on to Household Pet Advisory Committee. Is Jenny with us?
No, I've been in touch with her the entire morning. She said she was joining and now she's not here. So I've asked her, where is she? And I haven't received a response yet.
Okay, Rachel?
Oh, wait, here she's, wait a minute.
She
She's on her
coming?
way. She's at a cat show, so I guess she got a little bit, but she's on her way.
We're
She
On
just
her
ready.
told
way.
me.
All right.
She's having trouble getting in. I can't help her.
While you're doing 5 things at once, Eileen, can you scroll down to that report?
Oh, yes.
Oh, thank you.
While
Oh,
we're
here she
waiting.
is. She's in. Hold
she's in,
on.
Okay,
Yep, I'm promoting her now.
all right.
Good. I'd rather she present this. So-
Okay. Hi, Jenny. Welcome and thank you for attending.
Hello, thank you for having me. As you can see, with the board, that's for the board to see, the Household Pet Committee has been doing some things such as discussing rings, which you guys already voted to do 75 rings, and budget items. And then recently we've been discussing if there was a breakout in class, or would we do a complete another class or specialty? And as you can read, there's some pros and cons to each of that. Show length, money spent on rosettes, and different ideas. We were thinking, long hair, short hair, kitten, adult, grands or non-grands, pedigrees or cats with faults, and pedigrees with mixes, and then males, females. So just a lot of ideas that we've kind of been discussing, but there are some things that CFA has data on, such as male, female, kitten, adult. There's some things that we don't keep data on that wouldn't be in the regular registration that we were thinking we would like to keep data on. So I was thinking of maybe a shared Google spreadsheet, and the household pet representatives could help me with that at the shows. And so I was just seeing what the board thought of that. And then should maybe we just start with specialty, because we don't have a true specialty in household pets. All of our rings right now are all breed. Maybe doing a top 5, whether it be long hair, short hair, adult, kitten. If the number reaches a certain number, say there's 30 entered, so maybe you do top 10 of this and top 10 of this. So that's kind of what that placement at the end means if we were thinking specialty. If it was a whole other class, of course, it would be top 10 and top 10. So I just wanted to see what the board's thoughts were and if we could do the spreadsheet if that was possible.
Okay. Rachel?
Thank you. We passed along to the Household Pet Committee as much as I felt I could legally do, since all of our brainstorming in October took place in executive session. There's nothing in that discussion that talks about people's names, cats' names, contracts, anything like that. And it was like we were talking in code to figure out what the board was recommending the household pet committee could do. Cutting to the chase, my request is, may I share with Jenny the actual discussion from that meeting? I basically told her the board's interested in splitting out the kittens. And, you know, and so this is kind of on track. She gave us lots of other ideas to split out as well, but I still believe, as we discussed in October, the most direct route to growing this class is to split out kittens. She came up with the idea of doing it in the specialty rings only, which is kind of a novel idea, which I like. We might be able to kind of amalgamate into having divisions that way. So we're just looking for board feedback, but my specific request is, may I share with her that discussion? It's not lengthy.
Okay, Rachel, in your opinion, the information that you want to share with Jenny and her committee, you believe is not executive session material, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we're going to take this as an emotion so we get it on the record. So you're making a motion. Can I have a second?
Russell will second.
Okay, Russell, thank you. Any discussion specific to Rachel's motion right now? Any objections? Okay, seeing no objection, motion passes unanimously. Rachel, when you
Thank
send the information to Jenny, also copy in the board so they're aware of what you're sending her.
Of course, sure.
Okay.
Glad
Now we'll go back to discussions on household pet report. There was at least 4 people that had their hands up. Pam Delabar?
Jenny, in some other associations, they have split out pedigree cats as, you know, those that are of pet quality or have a disqualifying feature. They call them companion cats. And then the domestic, you know, the domestic cats are called household pets. Just another idea, but this has been working specifically in Australia.
Okay, Pam, thank you. John?
I talked to the exhibitors in the Great Lake region about having household pet kitten award. They seem like they're interested. I just thought I'd share the information.
Okay, thank you. Kathy Calhoun, I think you had your hand up also.
No, I was just gonna second Rachel's motion.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. And any board members have any recommendations or suggestions for Jenny? You can send them to Jenny directly or through Rachel to Jenny. Rachel?
So, thank you about those comments. Jenny did mention a potential division that was discussed about pedigreed cats and breaking them into their own division, and you know, any other ideas that the board has. And if you would like us to prepare a proposal for the April meeting to split out the kittens in either a specialty ring or just as its own division, we would like some comments on that and recommendations.
Paula?
Yeah, I've been working with Rachel and Jenny on this, and I believe that the first step in breaking the kittens away from the adults would really, really help. I know a lot of exhibitors feel like the kittens really aren't competitive with the adults, and therefore they don't show them until they get to be 8 months old. And by that time, it's harder to get them acclimated into showing. I think by breaking the kittens out, we can build the household pet program faster, because people will then decide to bring their kittens, enter their kittens, because they're only competing with kittens. So I really think that first step needs to be separating the kittens from the adults, and then we can move on from there. So yeah, I would like to see that advanced in April.
Okay, Jenny? You're on mute.
Sorry, I guess part of the question is did we want to keep some data on those other numbers? As far as like long hair, short hairs, or possible pedigreed versus just domestics, some of those other things that we don't have the data on. I know we were looking at the data from Dick Calameyer about companion cat world and household pets, and while registrations are up, some of those aren't necessarily equating to household pets shown. So the data is a little tricky because companion cat world numbers are tied to the household pet numbers.
Colleen?
I just wanted to clarify something. It was mentioned about the kittens and something being brought forward in April. You're not talking about having that be in effect for the 2024-2025 show season.
No.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you.
A delegate proposal. For the
Okay.
end.
Got it. Thank you.
So it will be a delegate proposal in time for April, so we will hear it at the upcoming June delegate meeting. Rachel?
Jenny's looking trepidatious.
Jenny, what do you think? Well,
Sorry,
Ed,
I have to, sorry, the unmute. I apologize.
go ahead.
So I was just thinking, I thought it was going to be a proposal to the board because it came out of the closed session. But if you want it to be at the delegate meeting where everybody can talk about it, that's perfectly fine as well.
Ed, does this come before the delegates?
Sorry, I hit the unmute. It does not need to. I mean, it can. Because whatever they do is going to require show rule changes to deal with scoring and all that kind of stuff. So you could put it before the delegation to get a view of the sentiment, but it doesn't have to.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that. Pam Delabar?
Rachel, couldn't this come under experimental formats? Give it a good try, see how, raise it up the poll and see if anybody salutes type thing.
Certainly. I don't know why it wouldn't.
Be a way to get things going quicker.
Correct. And also, I'm thinking that with the delegate proposal, we're getting weigh-in from people who this doesn't affect. So.
Okay, Aline?
I just want to be clear. So now we're talking about experimental formats. We central office will need to be included in that conversation, because if we're going to be instituting at the shows, that will change judges' sheets, it'll change scoring. So making that something experimental is a bit of a major thing, or else it has to all be done by hand, and that's a challenge. So just kind of keep us in the loop and keep that in mind.
Okay, thank you. All right, Jenny, do you have any further comments?
So is it okay with the board if that we collect that data from the shows that we're at? I know it's not officially, kept data, but is it okay to keep that extra data to kind of see how the numbers are running and say pedigrees, non-pedigrees, grands, non-grands? I think we might be able to pull out that data, but long hair, short hair.
So Aline, the data that Jenny is asking for, there's nothing in there that is private?
No, just sounds like we're asking about more details on the cat itself.
Okay. Is it necessary for a motion on this? Ed?
No,
No, okay. I don't have any issues. As long as there's no private information being shared and reviewed by the committee. If anybody has an objection, go ahead and state it. Okay, Jenny, go ahead.
So would that be a spreadsheet that my committee and myself should keep people going to shows, like fill in like a Google spreadsheet, or would that be something we would need to add to when they're entering shows?
I don't know the answer to that question. What would be the most simplest for you and for possibly central office in trying to get you the information you're looking for? And I don't know that the board needs to get involved in the actual details of that. I think you could probably work that out between Eileen and James. And then just communicate to the board what you're doing.
Okay, thank you.
Rachel?
I really think that's a standalone project because involving central office is going to cost money in time and resources. And that's also something to keep in mind when we bring forward whatever proposal we end up, what the price tag is going to be for that.
Good point. Thank you. Okay, does anybody have any additional questions or comments for Jenny? Jenny, do you have anything else for the board? I think you shook your head no, right?
Thank you no, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Enjoy the show. Okay, moving on.
Good.
Judging program, Vicky?
I thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. With regards to the judging program, most recent immediate past committee activities. At the December 5th board meeting, there was a motion made and passed that directed the judging program committee to look into a possible rewrite of the social media guidelines. I asked Meryl Lee to lead this project, and I asked her to please select a cross-section of individuals to assist her in this project. She did select a cross-section. She's got 3 judges, and some of these are overlaps, a couple of exhibitors, and I believe there's 3 board members. Let's see, Merrily, yeah, 3 board members also. One of the first things that they wanted to look at was how are the social media guidelines viewed by the exhibitors? They're our stakeholders. They're the people who care the most about this. And so Merrily first of all, Merrily looked into see what the other associations were doing, dog and cat. And although there were a few board members who thought that none of these associations actually had social media guidelines, they actually did. TICA, AKC, WCF, GCCFV in Australia, and some of these were actually rolled into their code of ethics, and others were put in their judging program rules. Our social media guidelines are actually different because they actually address judges, board members, and committee members. So the questions Merrily and her committee put together actually covered some of these aspects. And the poll closed on January 23rd. So her committee has not had a chance to meet and make any proposals on this, but we wanted to get you the numbers. So most of these cover the same kind of things as to what the associations require of their judges to do. I want to point out to the first line, are you a judge, that there were approximately 365 responses. 18% of these are from judges. The remainder, 82%, were from exhibitors. Merrily tried to get the data raw from Kathy that were just the exhibitors' responses, but apparently that's unable to break it out. But what I did want to point out to you is that overwhelmingly 2-to-1, the exhibitors do feel that judges should not be posting photos or videos of themselves with currently exhibiting cats or exhibitors with currently exhibiting cats. They also didn't think the judges should make comments about currently exhibiting cats. Again, more than 2 to 1. They didn't particularly care if judges posted pictures of their own cats at shows, their own cats at home, or their own cats showing at another association. They did, however, not going right along with the comments piece. They don't want the judges doing a thumbs up. They didn't care that board members did pictures of cats, nor did they care that committee members did so either. They also didn't have any opinion or didn't think it was an important aspect about judges pointing out individuals. And I think that kind of points to the fact that the judges would thank clubs and mention people's names. That's also not something that the judging program committee really ever got complaints about either. So Marilee and her committee will be meeting and putting together some options for what they think the rewrite should look like, and whether it should be incorporated into the judges' code of ethics or into the judging program rules. So it's really in its infancy. We just wanted to deliver you the numbers because this is the input we were looking for. Do the exhibitors really care?
Okay, before you continue,
Any questions?
Vicki,
Yep.
Marilee, do you have any additional comments?
I think this gave us a lot of good data to where we can, use as a jumping board here. I mean, part of what we were really trying to tease out is not only what people wanted us to post or not post, but do they really care if board members, post photos of their own kittens, committee members? And I think overwhelmingly, they voted this is pretty much a judge issue. So, and like Vicki said, that means, do we want to have a separate standalone code of ethics for social media that is just speaking to judges, or because it only pertains to judges, maybe we do just move it into the judges code of ethics or into the judging program. I think like CFA had some guidance, but it's in the judging program rules. WCF, I think is in the code of ethics. So yeah, it may just be that this is a judging thing. And so hoping to meet within the next week or two when I can get everybody's schedules together and see what the other members think about it. I sent all these results and also some nice kind of pie graphs, which are easier, I think, than just the raw numbers to conceptualize, and let them kind of simmer and think about what they really want to see going forward from this. But I think it's good information, which we needed. So,
Okay, thank you for all your work with you and your committee. Vicki, continue. Colleen, did we lose Vicki?
She's still there. Look up, there she is.
No, I'm here. Marilee froze. Can you hear me?
Go ahead, Vicki.
Yeah, Marilee, for me, maybe it's my internet at this hotel in Spain. The next item that I'd like to just mention, and thank you for passing the changes that we proposed for 3001. This has been a confusing situation because sex-linked male colored cats that show up at the shows, in most cases, they shouldn't even have a registration number. So we're not certain if they enter as a female and transfer to male. They're really not actually eligible to enter as a kitten, a championship or premiership cat. But we do get them, and then I get questions about it. especially when there's no AOV class for these cats. Now, what do they do with them? So at least now they have an option. They should disqualify them if there is no AOV class. The next item, and if anybody has questions about either the show rule change or Marilee's project, we'd be happy to answer those. Any have any questions?
No hands up yet, Vicky.
Okay. The judging program rule change. This came when we started and Malaysia, Thailand. Pardon? Are you able to hear me?
Vicky, you are cutting in and out.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, there's no better internet here at this hotel. Are you able to hear me right now?
Yes.
Sometimes we
Okay,
can hear you,
great.
sometimes we can't.
That we were having okay.
All right.
If I have to sign out and back in, I will do so, but I'll try and deliver this as soon as you don't hear me well. Please put your hand up, Rich, or somebody let me know. We weren't able to assign trainees at some of these show opportunities that we had in the ID because they didn't fit the requirements. The 1 day 6-ring show was the only option we had for a 1 day show. And frankly, a 1 day 4-ring show is actually easier to have a trainee work at than a 6-ring show. I think it just never came up. Some of these formats are very outdated. We don't ever have a 1 day show that's all long hairs and a 1 day show that's all short hairs, but we didn't take those out in case somebody opts to put that in. So our motion is to request be able to add 4 and 5 rings. It only changes that last bullet point. That is the only change in there.
Okay, Russell, this is your motion?
I'll second it.
No. This is your motion, Russell, right?
Yes.
Okay, now I need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Daryl. Okay, discussion? Objections?
Oops.
Seeing no objections, motion passes unanimously. Ed Raymond, do we have to
The
do
next
any?
piece of business I have.
Vicky, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Ed, do we have to make
Yep.
any show rule changes on this? You're on mute.
Sorry, no, it's only a judging program change, so
Okay,
it's only
thank you.
your rules.
Okay. Thank you. Continue, Vicky.
The next piece, sure. The next piece of business has something that's actually not in the judging program rules or in the show rules. However, it's been a policy that the judging committee has followed since the inception of the continuing education project or reports that went into place in 2011. The report card and the instructions that go with the report card say that only all breed judges are eligible to collect continuing education points from attending a breed awareness school. I think that maybe is an oversight at this point. I would rather an associate judge or a single specialty judge attend a breed awareness school as opposed to sitting at their computer and looking at 10 breed presentations without any crosstalk from other people. So we've asked the board to bless this policy with a motion that allows any status of a judge, trainee approval pending or approved, will receive continuing education credits for attending a BAOS, except those that would use attendance to satisfy the requirement of entrance into the second specialty of CFA's judging program, because we feel that would be rather double dipping.
Okay, Russell, is this your motion?
Yes.
Okay, Ann, are you making a second?
I can second,
Okay,
but then I
thank you.
also, is it possible to add associates into that? They have to earn CEUs too. And there are some of them that don't want to go in the regular program.
Okay, I'm gonna ask Vicky first. Are you,
That's kind of who I was asking.
okay, Vicky, are you willing to add that to the motion?
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
Can we
you were
put,
cutting
can
out.
we
I
add
apologize.
associates, can we add associates to trainee approval pending and approved? Because some of them, they need CEUs also. And not all of them want to take it for the regular program.
Yes, I would be happy to do that.
Okay.
That looks like maybe an oversight, or that I assumed associates were in the approved bucket. So it would now read trainee approval pending approved, or associate judges will receive CEU credits, etc.
Perfect.
Russell, you agree?
Yes, I do.
I would be
Thank
Okay,
you, Russell and Vicky.
okay. Further discussion? Any objections? Seeing no objections, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you all. The next the Breed Awareness School, we increased our budget. The Breed Awareness School will be held this next week. It is slightly different in format. It is a 3-day in class teach, where they can, and most of them have signed up for both long hair and short hair. And then there's the hands-on handling at the show in Belgium. Peter Van Wertengem has been our feet on the ground, arranging rooms, and the other members of the faculty will be Barbara Yeager and Nancy Dodds. I've also provided you a report on what the happenings of the Bay check-in in China. This is a show rule that only applies to China and requires high numbers of cats that are entered in a breed or a color class that won't fit into a judging ring, to require them to be to go through Bay check-in. And we've had a number of shows with very high breed entries there, and we've had a lot of great cooperation from our judges that have been attending these shows over there. Last weekend in China, we had an entry of 85 ragdolls. 74 of them were kittens, and it required all 6 rings to fill up with ragdolls to do the Bay check-in. The one interesting thing that has come from the Bay check-in on all these shows that I've listed here is very low absentees. So they're not showing a cat as a multiple entry number in these shows. They may be bringing extra cats or cats that are not of super quality or great quality, but they're not doing what they did before. So I think the concept of Bay check-in has eliminated that aspect of inappropriate sportsmanship behavior. Not going to go into any more of that for Bay check-in. We've had some issues that have not come up before, and about ring sharing, not leaving the show hall until you're checked out by the master clerk, different things that come up. And we use our judging program IO group to communicate that information to our judges. We usually copy the associates list just in case they don't see it there. But I think it's a great way for us to keep everyone engaged on the communications. We have no leave of absence currently. We've not received any retirements or resignations. The next section has to do with me telling you what's happening in closed session. It's kind of like a place marker for when Rachel does the reporting on this, I think. But I do want to point out, we have the 3 applicants this time that are in closed session for discussion. We've also received, according to this report, 2 applications that have been fully vetted in meeting the February 1st guidelines. Alan Shi from China and Yukio Matsushita from Japan. We've also received a third one that is a complete application, and it arrived to the application administrator. Eugene Jeong from South Korea has taken the step from associate judge to applying to the judging program. And that is also Alan Shi's position. So that's great news.
Can we take a break and go
Again,
back to the motion, Vicky?
application.
Sorry.
Vicky, hold on one second.
Sure. Yes.
Rachel, I didn't hear what you said.
We have a motion there that we skipped over about Elena Podprugina.
Oh, I apologize.
Yeah.
I don't think I got to it yet, did I?
Not yet.
Yeah, it's on the bottom of the page.
All right, so.
It's after Eugene Jeong.
Okay, hang on, Vicky.
Oh, it's sorry.
Yeah.
Kathy Calhoun, you have a question?
I don't.
It's okay.
This is Kathy. I don't have a question. I just wanted to thank Vicky and the judging program, the clubs and the ID for being so cooperative on when we instituted Bay Check-in this season. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and everyone has been so cooperative, and I'm very happy to hear that it's working.
Okay.
Thank you,
Vicky?
Kathy. Yes,
Mhm.
so following telling you who's applying and who's coming up for advancement, we wanted to point out that Elena Podprugina is coming up for us to discuss. She is a guest judge from Rui who has judged for CFA probably more than 60 times now. Her evaluations were in the file. So we also followed this process or motion when we accepted Olga Grabneva and Olga Korochkina. Sorry if I mispronounced that. They are currently being paid $1.25 a cat as a guest judge, and we don't think it's fair that if they join the CFA judging program, they take a demotion in salary. So we've asked that if Elena is accepted, that her pay rate remain at the $1.25 level that she has currently been receiving as a guest judge.
Okay, before we
and that is a motion, Russell.
Okay, Russell, that's your motion, correct?
Correct, yes.
All right, Pam Delabar has her hand up, so I'm going to go to Pam. Pam?
I feel this is premature. It's something that we should address after we have accepted Elena. And I'm all for it, but I mean, I believe it's something we should be addressing later.
Hey, Russell, are you willing
Well, I would have.
Russell, are you willing to address this later?
Yes, we can address it later. I
All right, then why
understand
don't
what
we,
Pam is saying.
why don't we do, since we don't have a second, why don't we do as Pam is recommending, okay?
Yes, okay.
Okay, let's move that on to later.
Okay, thank you. We will do that. Advancements, we have 3, Yi Chang, Lynn Knight, and Padma Wiranan, excuse me. Yeah, wait till I get to Itzy's name. You'll love that one. Okay, so moving on to the section that probably gonna take more conversation than the rest of this. Has to do with relicensing. I provided you in the December meeting the lists of complaints, concerns that we had at that time. What I've provided here is an update of those complaints that we've received. I believe it's between November 26th and the closing of when these reports were due. I also wanted to update the fact that of the 137 CFA judges, trainees, and associate judges, they have all paid their dues. There is no one that is in arrears that owes us a continuing education report card. They have all been turned in. The two individuals that were not meeting the Rule 919 of the judging program rules, that they have to judge 3 times in 2 years. Those two individuals managed to pick up an assignment, which put them into compliance. So everyone meets those requirements for relicensing. Now, I believe Rachel probably put this action item in, and because she knows what the structure of this has to be, you'll get a judges for lifing. The next page.
Vicky? Vicky?
Yes.
Okay, we did not hear.
I'm here.
Yeah, we did not hear what you said, so I'm gonna ask Rachel to.
Can you hear me?
maybe, decipher what you said.
Okay. Basically, this action item is in there for a place marker. We'll report the results here in open session after we vote on it, just like our advancements and trainee acceptances.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Rachel. I saw that in there and I just assumed that you knew what you were doing and you put it in there for a reason. I've gone over again the Breed Awareness School. It's going to be held February 7th through the 11th. All the slide templates have been updated since the international show, where we were still missing a few. The guest judging report here outlines those judges, CFA judges who have requested to guest judge for approved associations or groups. And then following that, and there were 3 corrected dates for the World Cat Show Fella Day, which is the independent, which has 3 judges judging it, that Wendy Height has provided for me. The second table here are CFA clubs requesting to use the guest judge. The majority of these are tier 1 guest judges. We've had a couple of new ones on the list. Wendy does review their paperwork when it comes in. And this list also includes the overages for Elena Podprogina that were approved by the executive committee. According to our judging program rules, the judges at tier 1 are permitted to judge 10 shows for CFA in a show season. And due to extenuating circumstances or China, the executive committee approved for Elena Podprogina to have additional. That's it for the guest judging program. Any questions?
Pam Delabar?
I just wanted the board to know how our guest judges go above and beyond for the service of CFA. Last week I was in Shanghai, and earlier in that week, both Chris Merritt and Elena Podprogina were in an auto accident and ended up needing care at a hospital. Elena Podprogina had multiple stitches across the left side of her face. Chris Merritt had extensive bruising and a cracked left wrist. Both of them got permission to and medical clearance to be able to judge the show, and they did so in style, regardless of their horrendous bruising, regardless of the handling. Chris handled beautifully and only needed help with one large Maine Coon that gave all of us problems. These ladies really served CFA above and beyond what would be recommended and what I have seen in the past from many judges. I don't know what we can do to thank them for their service, but it was just unbelievable the way that they really showed up for CFA.
I echo your statements, Pam. I'd also like to mention that the Vermont show on January 20th had more than its share of judging issues in that they couldn't get their judges in. There were ice storms. And we were able to have the first CFF judge for CFA. She was very accommodating. She didn't even find out until the morning of that she had been approved to do so. She drove the 2.5 hours and she judged a double specialty for the Vermont show. And I thanked her over and over again for being so helpful to the Vermont Fancy Felines Club.
And just a little closer to my home, there are several strikes going on in Finland over this weekend, and they affect the air flights. So anybody flying out the first, second, or third would have been affected going to shows. Satu Hammerleinen left on Wednesday to make sure that she was available to judge in Spain this weekend. Of course, I'm taking care of a 4-week-old exotic kitten, but be that as it may, it's our guest judges really do show up for us. And to tell you the truth, we don't pay what they usually make at their shows, yet they do a wonderful job for us. And I was particularly taken with Elena and Chris this last weekend, the way that they just overcame real adversity. And if I show you the pictures of the bruising on Chris's face, you wouldn't believe that she could even smile. But be that as it may, they worked for us.
Okay, you know, I want to just make a quick comment on that. Very sorry that Elena and Chris encountered that accident that they had, and great job to everybody who helped the two of them. I know Agnes played a role in helping, and she was communicating with Vicky and others. So wonderful job to everybody, and thank you to both Elena and Chris for being able to do the show last weekend. So thanks for bringing that up, Pam and Vicky, and we're just glad that nothing more serious came of this accident, and sorry it did happen. Daryl?
A shout out to Gavin Cow. He helped a lot too.
Yes, he did.
Well, thank you to Gavin too then. That's wonderful. Okay, Vicky.
The last section on open session has to do with continuing education. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. This is not something we want anyone to be surprised of. The associate judges that came on board may not have, fully understood that they do need to do the continuing education. The majority of the T1 judges, it's 5 years from when they were accepted. We'll be sending them reminders that they have through October of 2025. There are only 5 report cards due this year. They've already been sent a reminder. The majority of our continuing education were judges that were already on board at 2011 when this procedure came into being. And so 2026, we have 83 report cards due. And so that is, of course, more than half of our judging faculty. And that is the end of the closed session report.
Okay,
Or open,
Russell,
excuse me, open session.
Russell, do you have any additional comments?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, Vicky, thank you, and thank you to your committee for all you've done. Does anybody
Thank you.
have any more questions for Vicky or Russell? Okay, seeing no questions, we will continue on. Next is George. Is George available? Or is Ann presenting?
I just admitted George.
Okay, great, thank you.
Sorry.
I'm
Hi,
in now.
George. Welcome to the meeting.
Good evening, good morning. Happy tomorrow to people on the other side of the international date line. I have a couple of things I'd like to add to the written report before we discuss it. The first thing is I want to call out a bill that's been causing me a lot of loss of sleep, and that's New Hampshire's House Bill 1102. It's mentioned in passing in the report. It's also been the subject of one of our e-newsletter articles back in December. It was pre-filed back in December. It would add a new criminal offense under their animal cruelty law for breeding or selling animals with a deformity that causes unnecessary suffering, including brachycephaly, which means basically they're going after Persians, exotics, and Burmese. Plus, those were just used as examples. Certainly, when they get around to it, they could easily add breeds like Manx, Scottish Fold, Sphinx, or even white cats, which have been on the target list for some groups that are trying to ban breeds. It was set for hearing in January. On January 16th, we were working with TICA on doing letters in opposition when the hearing got canceled. We don't know for sure if it's going to come back or not, whether the author got their fill of it, or whether it's going to come back in a revised form. So we're watching that, but hopefully it's quiet for now. The next thing I wanted to mention was the Pet Industry Leadership Summit, which was January 22nd to 24th. When I wrote the report, it was still future tense. It is now past tense. So I just wanted to bring you a couple of updates from that summit. The first is that I talked to Mike Bober. He's the head of the Pet Advocacy Network about New Hampshire House Bill 1102. He's pretty much on the same page we are. We're not really sure what the author is going to do with it. He suggested that CFA hold back doing anything for now until we see if the author tries to revise it or get it back on track. And they will be coordinating with us if this does revive and come back to life. The second thing I wanted to bring to you out of the Leadership Summit was that they announced the date for Pet Night on Capitol Hill. As you know, CFA has been sponsoring Pet Night on Capitol Hill for over 20 years. And this year, it's going to be on September 11th, 2024. Yes, I know September 11th is kind of a weird date for karma when you're talking about events in DC, but that's the date that was available. I will be sending out notices to the people who've helped with Pet Night in prior years to see if we can get on board for the 2024 event. But I just thought the board would like to have that update. So mark your calendars. Those are my two little updates. And then you have the written report. Does anybody have any questions?
Pam Delvar?
George, you may have seen some of my postings on the animal welfare laws that are coming up in front of the European Union Parliament. They're calling it Call to Care for Animal Welfare. One of the things that I have been working on and been collecting are researches specifically on breeds, like what Marilee has done with the Scottish Fold. There's also on the American Curl. And some of the pushback we've been able to do in some of the countries is just say, prove it. This research says you're wrong. And when they can't counter our research, then they back up. Olivier Grin, who is a veterinarian, supplied me with a very interesting research that was done in Scotland about brachycephalic dogs. And what they basically found out was that what you see is not what you always get. You may have a very extreme brachycephalic animal, but that does not mean that the internal portion is also messed up. Oftentimes they found out that the nasal capacity and structure worked. And we as judges, you can see this in the show hall. We can feel a cat is having problems breathing. And probably could tell what it, that is having problems nasally, but we're trying to find somebody to get this research done on cats. I would be happy to share what we come up with. I've been working with a veterinarian from Lithuania on this, and it's something that we're finding that comes up very well. I can tell you right now that the EU is really more interested in the fraudulent transport, import and export of dogs. And they're more interested in the tigers as pets and even snakes. Breed restricted legislation has not really been addressed at all. As a matter of fact, one of our EU reps for Parliament is from Finland, and she is a cat person, which helps us a great deal. But I just wanted to know some of the activities and actions that we're taking, and this is basically just really started coming up this past month. But your help when we start brainstorming this would really be appreciated.
Well,
Okay,
thank you.
Pam. Thank you, George.
Yeah. Well, first, thanks, Pam, for bringing that to my attention. If you've got any resources on this, you're able to share. We could certainly use the help if this comes up in New Hampshire. But the other thing is, we'd like to be more involved in Europe, in the EU, but I just don't know anybody out there. So if you can give me a name of somebody in your region who would be a suitable candidate to be on the legislative committee, let me get a little representation from Europe as well, because we're still very US centric with legislation because we got 3 American lawyers on the committee. So I would definitely appreciate your help, not only on the issues, but in terms of getting me in touch with somebody who might be willing to work with us and coordinate with CFA legislation in the EU.
Will do, and I'm sure Polly can help come up with a good person too.
Okay. George, anything further on this?
That's it.
Okay, thank you, George. We're going to move into Every Cat Health Foundation. Kathy Calhoun.
Okay, so I assume that you have read the report. It's very concise. Are there any questions?
Seeing no questions, Kathy, continue. Okay. Kathy, there's no questions, so thank you.
Yes, okay.
Carol, please do CFA Foundation.
Yes, this is basically an update report for the board on what's been happening with the CFA Museum. A lot of activity has been going on there. As we all probably know, Karen Lawrence retired last summer, and we now have a new curator that has been working in the museum and making some changes. Some have already been completed, others are underway. So we would like to invite everybody to come and visit to see some of the new exhibits that are currently available. And we hope that you will come. I don't think you'll be disappointed. If anyone has any questions, please let me know.
Carol, I don't see any questions.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It's now 1:42. We're going to take a break. Hey, everyone, I'm going to call the meeting back to order. Carol, I don't know if I thanked you for your last report, but thank you for the last report if I forgot to thank you. I see Annette is with us.
I am, thank you.
Hi, Annette. Thank you for joining us.
Sure.
Okay, we are going to turn it over to you.
Okay, so Daryl, do you just want me to just move along through it?
So Daryl, safe to say you're going to be a standing motion on all these?
Correct. I was going to ask that.
Okay, and can I have a standing second, please?
Rachel Will standing second.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. Glad we got that out of the way. That helps. Annette?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, good. So since I've asked the breed council secretaries that have proposals to join it too. If we could move first to my first action item, which is to go through the ballots, and that starts at the bottom of page 87.
A minute.
And that, well, at the bottom of page 88, I guess, which just has the number of breed council members and the number voting in a chart. So the first, there it is. The first item we have is the American Curl, and as usual, we're just going to discuss the items that passed. So number 2 proposal for the American Curl passed. This was to add to the American Curl registration rules that registrations by pedigree can allow domestic long hair and short hair cats in the 5-generation requirement.
Okay, is there discussion? Objections? Seeing no objection, motion passes unanimously.
All right, I'm gonna check these off as we go. So. Okay, so the first Bengal proposal that passed the breed council is proposing that the disqualify for kinked or otherwise deformed tail be removed, and that it instead say clearly visible tail kink or tail deformity is added to disqualify. I don't know if Sammy wants to speak to these separately or.
Hi, Sammy, welcome, and thank you for
Hi.
joining.
Thank
You
you for
have
having
any
me.
comments on this?
I do. I have prepared remarks. If I'm able to have a couple minutes to go through 2 points.
Okay,
Okay. Good afternoon, board members. The Bengal Breed Council has voted year after year to move tail faults from the disqualifying section to the penalties. This year it was unanimous. We are asking for our breed council to be heard, but also for the Bengal breed to be treated as other breeds have determined past precedent for this. The Bengals do have Siamese as an ancestor via Aussie cats that were used as foundation stock in the 80s during the development of the breed. CFA allows visible kink in the Siamese, and I don't believe that their standard is considered weak. Oriental, Color Points, Javi Bally's, they also all allow visible kink. Ragdolls and Vermillas also came in as a new breed with visible kink as the only DQ. We are asking to be treated as equal to these breeds. The Bengal breeders have also voted overwhelmingly year after year for this ballot proposal because health is very important to us. We do have health issues that take priority. We have HCM, we have progressive retinal atrophy, we have PK-DASH, and we also have polycystic kidneys in some lines. A tail fault does not impact the function or the well-being of our cats. When we consider the time and the money that it's taken to get beautiful cats that are also free of truly detrimental health outcomes, a tail imperfection is very low on the list of priorities. CFA Bengal breeders are focused on breeding healthy cats and contributing positively to our breed's future. Disqualifying slight imperfection only limits the cats that are making it into the show halls. Please allow the Bengal Breed Council to amend our standard to reflect our priorities. Thank you.
okay, Daryl?
Sammy, traditionally, this board, and you read off a couple of things there that refresh my memory about breeds that we've accepted just disqualified for visible tail faults. Traditionally, I have stood on the ground that I would not, what I call dumb down the standard, poor choice of words, but a standard is a standard of perfection that describes a perfect cat. Okay. Having said that, I'm going to support the breed council on this, even though it goes against my own personal, what I think is right. But I will support the breed council on this.
Thank you, Daryl.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions for Sammy or comments? Paula?
I noticed in your rationale that you also list that the Tonkinese breed only has that same disqualifying for visible, and that's not correct. I started out as a Tonkinese breeder, and our breed standard requires, it says no tail fault, period. So it's not that it just can't be visible, it can't exist.
Sure, I don't remember saying Tonkinese. The
It's in
Oriental
the
color
rationale,
point.
that's what I'm reading. I'm
Okay.
reading in your rationale.
Okay, and my emailed rationale. Okay, I apologize for that.
Okay, we'll have the records corrected on that then if Paula is correct. Thank you, Paula. Rachel?
Thank you. I agree with Sammy that the essence of this breed isn't a cat with a perfect tail. And while we would love to have that and one day may aspire to have only perfect tails in all of our breeds of cats, she hit on for me what is the most important reason for making any kind of a change to a standard: your genetic diversity and the health of the breed. I mean, these guys have come so far. Those cats, from the time we accepted them not that many years ago to today in the ring, are some of the best showmen we have on the table. You put a Bengal on the table and it's going to draw attention. People are going to ooh and ah because it's a phenomenal cat. Would we like twice as many of them? You bet we would. I would. And the health and temperament of this breed has improved exponentially in just a few years. I remember the first ones we handled, you guys all did. You know, I think this is a small concession to make so these guys can get their genetic diversity up, get more cats in the ring, and then work on a minor structural imperfection like this on the tail. So I'm definitely in support of this, and I would encourage you all to really consider doing this. We're not going to do it lightly and just out of hand for every single breed that comes forward, but year after year they've come forward and it's remained in the forefront of the important changes they must make. They wouldn't ask if it wasn't important, and I'm definitely in favor. Thank you.
Okay, Paula, do you have another comment or question?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Take that hand down.
Does anybody object to this motion? Seeing no objection, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Annette?
Yes, I'm getting there.
Okay.
Give me a minute. I've got people emailing me. Okay, the second proposal that passed. Would move the kinked or otherwise deformed tail to the penalized section of the Bengal standard.
Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments for Sammy on this? Any open discussions? Any objections?
Yes.
Okay, then I'm going to call for the vote on this. Pam, did you want to make a comment before I call for the vote? Are you able to see the screen now?
Yes, I can. Yes, I
Okay.
can.
Okay.
And I did have a comment.
Okay, go ahead. Make your comment.
To me, this is dumbing down the standard. Wait, I take that back. The visible is I'm sorry, I got screwed up here, Nancy. The kinked or otherwise deformed tail under penalize. I don't think that's needed since you already have the visible under disqualify. Is what I wanted to say. I don't think that you need this.
Okay. Sammy, you want to comment?
So if you don't think that it's necessary, I'm fine with removing it. But since we moved it from the DQ, we wanted to make sure that the board knew that we weren't trying to dumb down the standard by still having it be as a penalty.
Okay, Annette and Daryl, do you agree?
I agree it needs to be in penalize if it's not in disqualify.
And I'm in agreement with Annette.
Okay, so then I'm gonna call the motion on this. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Penny, Carol, Daryl, Paula, Russell, Kathy Dunham, Kathy Calhoun, Polly, Mike, Rachel, Ann, Yukiko, Marilee, John, Pam Mosier. Please lower your hand. If you're opposed, raise your hand. If you're an abstention, raise your hand. Pam Delabar. Okay, lower your hand. Hey, Rachel.
That's 15 yes, 0 no, 1 abstention.
Okay, motion passes. Okay, Annette.
Sure.
Oh, I'm
Item
sorry,
number,
Daryl, you got your hand up?
Yes, when Shelley was advising us at our last meeting, if you abstain, you have to state your reason.
Oh, good point. Thank you. We're gonna continue that practice. Pam, please state your conflict.
I don't believe it's needed, but I'm not violently opposed to it. So I did not feel that a no was necessary, but I would abstain based upon my comments I gave in the discussion.
And Ed, correct me if I'm wrong here. All board members have a right to abstain with and without conflict, provided they give the reason.
That's correct.
Okay. So Pam's abstention will remain, and thank you for the reason. Okay, Annette?
okay, the Bengal proposal number 3 clarifies the Bengal I description. And you can see both the current description and the proposed replacement. I'm not going to read it. You can all read it for yourself. And if you have questions, I'm sure Sammy would be happy to answer.
Okay. Questions for Sammy? Open for discussion. Daryl?
I just want to comment about the eye set in the lower third of the skull. That's something that has been on the internet on Bengal breed standards, and I'm certainly happy that they're adding it here.
Okay. No further discussion. Any objections? Being no objection, motion passes unanimously. Sammy, congratulations and thank you.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for all the board members that supported our proposals.
Okay. Annette, we're going to go back to Carol now.
Yes, she is here.
Okay. Okay, so the American Shorthair first proposal is retitle. These all have, well, the first two have to do with the headings and where color descriptions are included in the standard. The first one will retitle the solid color heading to include party color. And then it also cleans up a little bit of other color description housekeeping. And it passed.
Okay. Hi, Carol. Welcome
Hi,
to the meeting. Do you have any comments on this first motion?
Yeah, let me kind of combine the first and the second to tell you where we're going with this. Is traditionally, we accept all colors, so to speak, in and white. So what we originally had was an eye color description, sometimes a paw color description that was in 2 different sections. So it would be in there, let's say, for the solid color, and then we'd have it again for the solid color and white, or we'd have it for the tabby color and then the tabby and white. So several years ago, we wanted to try and consolidate our breed standard, and this is the last part of it. One of the reasons we moved party color to solid, so the next section would be bicolor and calico together, and we would drop most of the description from those regarding eye color and pad color. When we get to the tabbies in white, what this really does is cut down on the verbiage of verbiage of the standard, in that you would look at the, let's say, silver tabby, eye color and pad color, and then tabby and white is just those same color descriptions plus white. And that's where we're going with all of this. We moved party color to solid, because then if you scroll down, the next section would be calico and bicolor and calico. And then for the next proposal, what we're doing is we're removing all of the separate eye colors from the and whites. Does this make sense to you? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Does anybody need more clarification? No, Carol, I think they understand, and thank you for bringing that all to our attention. Does anybody have any questions for Carol on this motion? Daryl?
I've got and this is trivial, but why did you put calico and bicolor instead of calico and bicolor? Calico and bicolor would be consistent with what is in our breeds.
This is a way that got added. There wasn't a real good reason. So you think the title should be calico and bicolor instead of bicolor and calico?
Correct.
That's not the way we had the proposal go in, and so there's no reason for it, Daryl.
Okay, I just consistency with our other breeds. And it's not something I'm asking you to change now because you voted on it the way it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, Daryl, do you have any more questions or comments?
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. Are there any objections to the first motion? Okay, seeing no objection, motion passes unanimously. We'll move on to the second one.
Okay, the second one was actually the calico and bicolor and calico. The first one was the solid and party color.
No.
But we discussed both together, so.
No, this is one.
That was one.
Okay,
That
so
was
now I'm
one.
confused in that.
Okay, where's two?
2 is right here. So this is where we're taking out the additional color descriptions. So Daryl, this may answer your question why it was bicolor and calico. It makes it consistent with smoke and white and smoke calico, etc. So if you scroll down, we'll have the same thing for torties. But what we're removing, stop right there. What we're removing is we're removing all of this redundant description of the color and the eye color, and sometimes pad colors in there as well. And this is, so these sections will be directly behind the appropriate color. So this would, the shaded and white and shaded calico would come right after the shaded section. And when we get to tabbies, it removes a lot of redundancy out of the standard. Again, this is not changing it other than removing some verbiage that was duplicated.
Okay, questions? Daryl, does everything look okay?
Yeah, it looks good to me. I understand what they're doing. They're trying to cut down the volume in their standard by eluding a lot of this redundancy.
Okay. All right, any objections to motion number 2? Okay, seeing no objection, motion passes unanimously. Now we go on to number 3.
Number 3, proposal removes the adjective deep in the disqualify section before the words nose break. So instead of saying any appearance of hybridization with any other breed, including long or fluffy fur, comma, nose break, comma, bulging eye set. Previously it said deep nose break, now it just says nose break.
Okay, any questions for Carol? Open discussion, any comments? Any objections? Seeing no objection, motion passes unanimously. Carol, congratulations and thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And that we're going on to Berman, correct?
Yes, Berman, proposal number 1.
Is Karen Lane available?
No, Daryl's going to be her stand-in.
Okay, great.
The first proposal is a standard change that revises the paw pad color description under gloves. And what it's basically doing is saying it can be pink or a combination of pink or any other color complementary to the point color. It's just clarifying what basically is already added. It's taking out the dark spot because on a lilac, you're not going to see dark spots, but you may see other modeling.
Okay, Daryl, do you have any comments?
No, this speaks pretty much for itself.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Daryl? Okay, any objections? Seeing no objection, motion passes unanimously.
Okay, so proposal number 2 is a show rule because it's a color class change. And this is a proposal to add an AOV color class for point colors not currently allowed or described in the standard. And just for some background information, the Berman Breed Council asked for this in 2000 on their 2019 ballot, but they did not specify point colors. And the board at the time decided that meant the AOV color class could be for anything. And they asked them to come back with something, and they didn't at the time. So this is adding an AOV color class for point colors that are not currently allowed or described in the standard. And this is a first step in allowing down the road. They already can register other point colors. This is allowing them to show them in the AOV class. So they can build their numbers and possibly accept some of these colors that they currently do not accept.
Okay, any questions for Daryl? Any comments?
Rich, I'll just say that what they're trying to do is get some colors that are over in Europe that we don't accept for championship here. So they're wanting these cats to be allowed to be shown in their AOV color classes. So I think that it was the vote was pretty heavy in favor of this.
Okay. Any objections? Seeing no objection, motion passes unanimously.
Okay, the other 2 things aren't really anything we need to discuss. They were information only so that the Breed Council members had an idea about what point colors they're talking about. And it's also to aid a central office in making a list of what to register some of these other point colors as, because up until this point, there really wasn't any definition of what any other color might be. So we don't need to discuss 3 or 4.
Okay, great. Thank you to Karen and Daryl and the committee, and congratulations.
Okay, so we need to skip to the Burmese one since the Bombay proposal is in response to the Burmese proposal. So we need to skip through British short hair and go to Burmese.
Okay.
And I don't know if Art or Jerry are on. I can only do one thing at a time here. I'm old.
Let me get to the Burmese, and then I'll double check the audience. They weren't here before. No, neither are here.
Okay, so the Burmese proposal is to allow modification of their outcross policy to permit breeding to both sable and black Bombays. And then it lists what the requirements for registration would be.
Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments? Daryl?
I talked to Art last weekend in San Diego, and he's very much wanting the board to support this proposal. This came up a few years back. The Bombay objected to it, but we